Hello, and sorry can't be with you this evening, but thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you through this video link. I hope you have a good meeting. I'm sure it'll be interesting and stimulating. I've been asked to offer an opinion about the current economic crisis and how that might impact on the voluntary and community sector. So here goes. I think the first thing to say is that we're very much in the throes of a fairly deep recession, probably the deepest recession we've been for many years, and it's impacting very hard on a lot of our communities. We're seeing people losing their jobs, we're seeing wages reduced, we're seeing it becoming harder and harder to meet your bills, and even little luxuries are proving more and more difficult to acquire. So I think it's hitting people very hard. So what can we do about that? Well, I think first of all we need to just have a look at how that recession is unfolding. We're told that we're coming out of the recession now. I'm a little sceptical about that because I think the recession has three phases. I think we've gone through and we're coming to the end of probably the private sector recession, but I think then we'll go into public sector recession, then into graduate recession, and then probably recovery coming on after that. I think, what do I mean by the public sector recession? Well, the private sector recession has seen private businesses such as the banks impacted very heavily by the financial situation. The government have placed a lot of resource to resolve that, and now the public sector has to find the resource to achieve the payment and repayment of some of those borrowings. So I think we're going to see the public sector hit very hard over the next 4 or 5 years. Not just local authorities, but the health sector, the police, the fire service, anybody who really gets money from the public purse. How is this all going to impact on the voluntary and the community sector? Local government is going to be having less mainstream money from central government. Local government is going to be getting less grant money directly and into partnerships. The health sector is going to be having less money, and the money that is coming into the health sector is likely to go to the acute services and to primary care and GPs. Housing does not have the same incomes from house building, and certainly our registered social landlords are also going to be impacted because there'll be less money coming into them. So when you look at all those circumstances and you put the private sector reduction in funding into the mix, what we're going to see is less money coming into the public sector. And of course, often it's government, local government, the health sector and the housing associations who passport money to the voluntary and to the community sector and the faith sector. So I think we're all going to have to manage with less money and resources. And that's going to be a major impact on the voluntary and community sector. At a time when our communities require more and more support from our colleagues in the voluntary and community sector, who often provide that added value support that is not always available from the public sector or from the private sector. So I think we need to be a little cleverer in the way we use the money that we've got. We have to work more in partnership and less in competition. We have to reduce duplication. We have to avoid having 2 or 3 different organisations delivering the same or similar services. And we have to think more cleverly about how we use the resources that we've got. I do think a recession often is the birthplace of innovation, and I'm sure there'll be some real innovative things taking place in the voluntary and community sector. And certainly your workshop after the AGM, I think, will be of great value for sharing new ideas and best practice on how we can do things differently and get more for less. One of my colleagues has a very good saying, and I think it's going to be very relevant going forward. The saying is, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to prioritise the priorities. And that will be really difficult, because that will mean saying no to some people. And it's always very difficult to say no. But we will have to look at those key priorities around trying to improve health inequality, trying to improve skills, trying to create more employment and retain people in existing employment, and to ensure that our communities are safe and clean. Those are important priorities at a time of recession. So we have a choice really in the private sector, the public sector and the voluntary and community sector working together have a choice. We can throw our arms up in the air and we can say this is terrible, or we can work together and we can innovate and we can get stuck in and we can make a real difference. Because I really believe that Halton is ready to become in renaissance rather than in recession. And if we just look at some of the examples that are going on at a time of recession, we can see there's some real opportunities for the voluntary and community sector to work with the private and the public sector for the greater good of the community. At 3MG in Widnes, the logistics depot, we're creating 1,500 new jobs at a time when jobs have been very scarce. In Daresbury, we've got world-class science that's being delivered and many millions of pounds being invested by the development agency to make that a world-class facility. We're seeing urban regeneration in Castlefields, new housing offer, a new village centre. We're seeing the development of the Mersey Gateway Bridge. We're seeing many opportunities we've created in Halton, working with Job Centre Plus and colleagues in the voluntary and community sector and in the private sector, over 100 new apprenticeships, and we're going to continue doing that through applying the Future Jobs Fund. So the future, I think, is very rosy in Halton. It will be very challenging, but I'm pretty confident with the skills that we have in the voluntary and community sector, by increasing the number of volunteers, because if people are out of work, they have an opportunity to volunteer. That may give them skills that they can then take back into the workplace. So interchangeable skills, social enterprise, I think, will thrive in a time of recession, and people who are out of work may become entrepreneurs and may create new businesses that one day will start employing other people. So let's be positive. I think we've got lots of industry, lots of energy, lots of commitment in Halton, and a lot of it is in the room tonight. So please take the opportunity to be innovative, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my views.